When it comes to Bloody Axe Wound, you get a late entry when it comes to the year horror film, which has a rare balance of being funny, having heartfelt moments, being a bit romantic, and also, of course, being bloody. So to summarize Bloody Axe Wound, when we're introduced to the film, certain things aren't necessarily answered, and that's what year it is, but we do know it seems to be before cell phones became massively accessible, before the internet became accessible to most people, and when video rental stores actually seemed like a good business idea. For in the town of Clover Falls, that is how one Roger Blake makes his money, but what most people don't know is that a lot of the horror films, especially the ones that are about a serial killer, seem to be based off of the kills that he's been doing for decades of the local high school population. But unfortunately for Roger, his store, Reel to Reel, has seen better days, and as he gets older, even though he seems to have some kind of powers like you would see from the likes of Jason, he's not healing as quickly, he's not being able to come out of the ground as easily, and with that, there's an idea of not necessarily having a successor, but definitely having somebody help to keep the momentum going. Now, you would think that his adopted daughter, Abigail, who wants to take over, be first in line, but Roger's very stuck on the ideal that the serial killer has to be a male, the teens who get killed have to be a certain type, and he just doesn't see her as capable of carrying a franchise. And in some ways, she may not be, for when Roger does start to relent a little bit, one of the first people Abigail is sent to go after, based off of this book that circles people in a yearbook, which again is something that's not really explained much. She's supposed to go after this girl named Sam, and even though she does as she was taught, which is gather research, stalk, and really pick the perfect moment to take out your prey, unfortunately for Abigail, Sam is a type who is a little bit too likable, and eventually it could be said that she catches feelings. So getting to the review portion, one of the top highlights when it comes to Bloody Axe Wound is that you actually get invested in supporting characters to the point of caring whether or not they live or die. For beyond Roger, for beyond Sam and Abigail, there's also Izzy, Patty, and Billy, who are pretty much Sam's friends, and with each one of them, there's enough personality given, there's enough of a distinct vibe of who they are that it makes it so you don't see them as just fodder for whoever's potentially going to kill them. Instead, they're the type who you want to see live out through all this, and you want to get to know more about them. And I would even say, getting to the next topic, when it comes to Sam and Abigail, I was not expecting to end the year with one of the last movies we see being a queer romance within a horror movie, but this is what we got, and it is so good. First of all, when it comes to Molly Brown, who plays Sam, she gives you kind of modern lesbian Kristen Stewart, but minus all that social awkwardness. And with that, it's someone who can be considered very seductive in some ways, to the point where you get that when it comes to Abigail catching feelings, it makes total sense. But also add in that even though Sam has this badass appeal and she's a drummer for this band called the Queef Queens, she also has this soft side to her that makes her even more somebody you want to see Abigail end up with. And you'll even hope that, based off of the way we've seen Sam, that either she lives up to this badass persona and maybe takes out Roger, or maybe Abigail betrays her adopted father for this person who, granted, it's very new to her life compared to Roger, who's been raising her since she was a kid, but you could understand, especially with teenage brain, why she could potentially sacrifice her father for this person who could become maybe the love of her life. Getting to the next highlight, it's this character named Glenn. Now, Glenn is somebody who is more so Roger's friend or acquaintance than an Abigail or even Sam, because Sam doesn't know who that man is, but Glenn works at the dry cleaners next door, often is cleaning Roger's stuff after he kills, and one of the things Glenn wants to do is become an actor. And it doesn't matter what part it is, as long as it's not the person who gets killed. He'll be the person who He's the all-knowing janitor. He'll be the witness who's asking the police what's happening to our town. He'll be the weird guy who is trying to warn the kids. It doesn't matter. He just wants to be part of it. And in an effort to be part of the next movie, he does the most ridiculous costumes and has these moments which I won't say makes the actor who plays him, Eddie Levy, a scene stealer, but he's a notable enough person in this movie where he has to have his own separate section. Which gets us to the last highlight, and that's that even though Roger has a very Jason from Friday the 13th background, there's still enough done to establish him as an individual so you don't say that it's a rip-off. Let's be clear, comparing Jason to Roger is not that hard. Jason and Roger both died in the camp. Both have these very weird relationships with their mothers, but the difference between Jason and Roger is that Roger has his wits about him. He's not somebody who has cognitive decline or whatever the term is. I can't remember what it's called anymore. But basically, when it comes to Roger, he don't got issues, which would make it so that he couldn't at least be a functional person of society, even if he does have a drive to kill. But what also kind of drives the difference when it comes to Roger is that he's not only somebody who can run a business, keep employees paid, even raise a child apparently, but also he has emotions. And I wouldn't say he ever has moments with Abigail that will get you like tears streaming down your eyes, but you can see there is a certain love, there is a certain care there that makes it so that you can't see Roger as a black and white character as you would most serial killers in situations like this. And it makes it so when it does become a sense that Abigail may have to choose between her new friends like Sam and the rest of them and then maybe Roger, it's not a simple answer of who's to choose. Are you going to choose this man who adopted you, took care of you, gave you some kind of job, and also taught you the ways of how he lived things? Or is it going to be something else? It's hard to say. So getting to the on-the-fence topic, one of the things that may not be a big issue for some, but could be a big issue for others, is that certain things when it comes to Abigail and Roger aren't necessarily elaborated much on. One of the big things, though, might be just a question of how did Abigail end up in Roger's care? Considering he's someone that usually kills teenagers, and when we see Abigail, she has to at least be above 6, 7, 8 years old. It's not a case of the assumption could be that he killed a teenager who was a single mom and maybe he saved this kid or took the kid because he felt something. That isn't made clear, never mind. Seems improbable. And then as for all the other alternatives, like maybe she saw him kill someone and he took her, didn't know what to do, yada yada yada, all the different theories you could have, nothing is really hinted at to be concrete. Most we find about Abigail's background is that there's a picture between her and Roger when Roger looks clearly younger and they're having a real father-daughter moment. We see the first knife that he's given her, and from that point, that's pretty much all of her background. That and the fact that she hasn't gone to normal school before. But beyond that, there are some other things you may question, like when it comes to who Roger chooses, it's not just instinct. This yearbook he has apparently randomly circles people to get killed. It's not clear how that works. It's not clear how he became immortal. And if you're someone who's a real stickler for details, this could bother you, but now being about a week separated from the film, I think that when it comes to the Sam and Abigail situation, when it comes to all of Sam's friends you get invested in, and then of course the conflict between Abigail's relationship with Roger to Abigail's relationship with these other people, never mind of course Glenn, who has to be mentioned, there's more than enough here that you don't have to really dwell on the fact that certain details are missing. But overall, when it comes to Bloody Axe Wound, I would say it's well crafted in unexpected ways, from characters you fall in love with and actually worry whether or not they die, to multiple relationships between characters that further your investment. This is definitely a surprising film, especially one to get a theatrical release. especially so late in the year. But thankfully, being that this is an RLJE film, it means that eventually it's going to end up on Shudder, I believe, sometime in March. So in case it's no longer in theaters around you, you can check it out when it comes out then.